Welcome to today's episode. We're diving into an interesting topic today, municipal bonds. To kick things off, can you explain what a municipal bond actually is?
Sure. A municipal bond is essentially a promise from a borrower, typically a government entity, to repay a lender with interest. It's a way for cities, states, or public agencies to raise money for public projects like infrastructure or schools.
So it's like a loan, but for a government project. Who exactly buys these bonds?
Exactly. Bondholders, which could be individual investors, institutions, or even mutual funds, buy these bonds. They lend money to the issuer and get interest payments until the bond matures.
And these bonds are often associated with public infrastructure, right?
Yes, that's right. Think water systems, roads, schools, and more. The funds from these bonds help build and maintain public projects that we all rely on.
That sounds like a great way for cities to fund necessary improvements, but how do these bonds work in terms of taxes? Are they tax exempt?
Great question. Many municipal bonds are tax exempt. This means the interest earned by bondholders is not subject to federal income tax. And in some cases, state taxes are also waived. This gives these bonds a lower interest rate compared to taxable bonds.
Oh, so bondholders get a tax break for helping to fund public projects. That's a pretty nice incentive. But what happens if the city can't make the payments?
Well, that's where bond covenants come into play. These are legal promises that municipalities make to ensure the bondholders' interests are protected, like ensuring they make the necessary payments on time.
So it's like a contract that the city has to follow. But I assume there are also risks involved in municipal bonds?
Definitely. Like any investment, there's risk. Municipalities can face financial struggles, and that could affect their ability to pay back bondholders. But generally, because these are government-backed, they tend to be safer than corporate bonds.
Safe, but not entirely risk-free. What are some of the different ways municipalities can structure these bonds?
There are a few options. For example, general obligation bonds are backed by the full faith and credit of the issuing city or state, while revenue bonds are repaid through specific income sources like utility fees.
That makes sense. You mentioned earlier about debt service and how municipalities manage repayments. Can you break that down a bit more?
Absolutely. Debt service refers to the amount of money the municipality needs to pay back each year, both principal and interest. It's usually set up in a way that ensures they can make those payments without jeopardizing other critical services.
So the city's finances need to be carefully planned out. Now, how do bond ratings play into all of this?
Bond ratings are crucial. Agencies like Standard & Poor's or Moody's assess the creditworthiness of the municipality. A higher rating means the bonds are safer, and as a result, the interest rates are usually lower.
So a higher rating translates to a better deal for the city and lower returns for investors. But if a city has a lower rating, they might have to offer higher interest rates to make the bonds more attractive.
Exactly. It's a balancing act. The lower the rating, the higher the interest investors will demand to offset the risk. This is why municipalities work hard to maintain good ratings. It impacts both their financing costs and their ability to access capital.
I see. Now, we've been talking about how these bonds work, but are there any real-life examples of this in action?
Sure. A good example is the city of Gilroy, which issued bonds to fund a new community library. They raised money through 2 separate bond issues, and the repayments were structured to fit the city's budget and long-term financial plans.
That sounds like a smart move. I'm sure the library benefited from that funding. So how did they structure the repayment for these bonds?
The city used a level debt service structure. This means they set a fixed amount to pay each year with a mix of principal and interest payments. The amount gradually increased over time, allowing the city some flexibility at the start.
So by structuring the payments this way, they didn't put too much strain on their budget in the early years? That's a smart strategy.
Exactly. It allowed them to start the project without overburdening their finances right away. It's a great example of how cities can use municipal bonds to fund public projects responsibly.
I think this whole process of bond issuance, funding, and repayment is a bit more complex than most people realize.
Absolutely. It involves careful planning, financial modeling, and understanding of market dynamics. But at the end of the day, municipal bonds are a powerful tool for cities to improve infrastructure and serve their communities.
It's definitely a topic that deserves more attention. Thanks for walking us through the ins and outs of municipal bonds today.
My pleasure. Hopefully, our listeners now have a clearer understanding of how municipalities use bonds to fund essential projects.
That wraps up today's episode. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you learned something new about the world of municipal bonds.